There are just some bears you don't poke. Texas high school football is one of them. There aren't many things that are more beloved by people than Texas football. Texas citizens loving Texas high school football, especially big time Texas high school football. 6A Texas high school football. The stadiums are better than a lot of group of five conference stadiums. They pour millions of dollars into them. There's a freshman coach on TikTok who has supplement deals from a day in the life of coach for Texas high school football. It's a big deal. And I think Shedeur Sanders is probably going to find out that it is a big deal, and it's going to continue to be a big deal. And probably going to find that out the hard way, especially with Colorado moving from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. And Texas is probably going to need to be a recruiting hotbed for Colorado going forward for Deion Sanders to be successful. And so, if you haven't seen the viral clip of Shedeur Sanders, I'll just play it for you and we'll talk about it. But there's a lot to digest here in only 26 seconds. But they're just some bears you don't poke. And I think he poked the bear, and it might not be a good thing for him or the bus program going forward. This is what he had to say after spring practice.
I came from a private school, so at the end of the day, I dealt with a lot of negativity, a lot of hate, a lot of everything I done dealt with already year after year. I came from a small private school. All the other kids was going big, Power 5, and they went to big 6A, Texas 6A schools and stuff. I don't see those same kids around. I don't see them excelling in their programs or whatever they're doing, so I've always been against the odds.
So, I guess we'll start backwards. I've always been against the odds. Your dad is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Your dad is a legend. Your dad is one of the best to ever play the sport. The odds have never been stacked against you. Not once. You were a highly touted high school football player who then went to college to play for your dad, who got his head coaching job because of his name and recognition, notoriety, the appeal of having Deion Sanders be the head coach at Jackson State. And now he would have been, make no mistake about it, Shedeur Sanders would have had Division I offers to play quarterback at that level. But you got to go play for your dad, who got a job because his name was Deion Sanders. Your dad started a school so you could play. The idea that the deck has been stacked against you is preposterous. The idea that because I went to private school, I'm an underdog. Like, no, that's not. Nope, that's not how it goes. But then to say, I got a lot of hate, and he probably did. I'm certain that being the son of a legend in some aspects sucks. Football is not one of them for the vast majority of situations. Football, being the son of a legend, probably doesn't suck 85 to 95% of the time. But to say that you aren't seeing 6A Texas high school football players having any success, and you went through a lot more stuff than they did, it's like, ooh, son, what are you doing? Because everybody who is anybody in a college football world knows if you're going to be a top flight program, you're going to be a top 10 to 15 program, you need to recruit Florida, Texas, and then to a slightly lesser extent, California, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia. It starts with Texas and Florida and goes from there. It starts with Texas and goes from there. And for the quarterback of a Power 5 institution, whose father is the head coach of that institution, who is going to play several games per season in the state of Texas, you would think, behoove you to speak glowingly about the high school football in Texas, about the coaches, about the players, about the communities. Because ass kissing leads to recruits. Ass kissing leads to kids thinking, you know what, I'm going to go to Colorado over Texas, Texas A&M, Houston, Rice, Baylor, TCU, SMU. The Colorado looks like a great school compared to those. Instead, what you're doing is, I played against those schlubs, and I had it tough because I went to a private school, and I've heard all the noise. Well, wait, what? And to be completely honest, Texas football coaches are kind of notoriously fickle, where if a head coach gets a new job and he doesn't honor the scholarship commitment from a kid from the past regime, those coaches will say, that guy's not allowed to come to our high school. That program's not allowed to recruit our players, etc. And when you make those relationships, when somebody makes that decision that they say, hey, we're not going to allow that school to come recruit, they generally don't just like are sitting around and think, you know what, I should probably reverse that. That's a rash decision, and they've paid their price. I think, I'm going to let that grudge go. Generally not how it works. So to try to kind of like knowingly build some grudges there is a head scratcher, because one, Colorado was at its best as a football program when it was in the Big 12, in the Big 8, and the Big 12, playing games routinely in Texas. So you would think that would be like, it doesn't take a science rocket to figure out that you're going to want to have some recruiting relationships in Texas. And then for your star quarterback and the son of a Texas football legend to say, like, yeah, those guys aren't as good as they think they are. I went to a private school and I'm better than they are. I don't know. They're all talk. Like, interesting strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out. I don't imagine it plays out all that well. Now, in the grand scheme of things, do I think this limits Colorado's recruiting ability in the state? No, probably not. But to see on back-to-back, not even back-to-back days, on the same day where Shedeur Sanders essentially says, I'm an underdog because I went to private school. Ugh. Followed up by Deion Sanders saying, I'm going to make sure that Shedeur and Travis Hunter go to the right situation. And if I got to pull an Eli Manning, I'm going to do that. On the same day is like, oh, I want to like you. I want to root for you. I want to be in your corner. And then you go and say things like that make me think maybe that's just not likely. Maybe it's just not possible. I'm all for player empowerment. I'm all for player movement. But when you start saying things like, I'm going to pull an Eli Manning in this thing and make sure that my son, who I have a hard time believing is anything better than a day 3 prospect in the NFL draft, and you're going to say, like, hey, I'm going to be calling the shots in the 4th round of making sure where my son goes. Like, okay. All right. Well, we'll see how that goes. Travis Hunter might be a 1st-round pick, and you might be able to say, I don't want him to go here, here, or there. But is Shedeur Sanders a 1st-round pick? I don't think so. 2nd or 3rd-round pick? Maybe. Maybe he plays himself into that. I don't know. But it's a lot to stomach. And I don't think it's a great look when your self-awareness target is, I'm an underdog because I went to a private school. And you know what? 6'8" Texas football is not even that good. Okay. You make those decisions. You give that a whirl, and we'll see how that goes for you. But I'm just here to tell you, if Colorado has aspirations of being a national championship caliber program, I think it's going to be difficult to do that without a decent chunk of recruits from the state of Texas. And I don't know if that's the way to go about doing it. But that's just me. That'll do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. Appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. If you are watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and make sure you're getting all the great college football content that we're pumping out here on Saturday Glory. If you are listening on a podcast feed, drop a 5-star review. It goes a long way in helping out the channel. I'll see you tomorrow for the Daily Huddle on Saturday Glory.